Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous
Coming back.
I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Daisy.
And it's time for some brand new acquisitions. We've got 5 new comics for you this week, and Jason's going to help me out. Jason, are you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, what are we going to talk about first?
Superman Adult Comics.
What number is it?
14.
14, so Action Comics number 14. Morrison's action lately has been a bit hit and miss for me. I loved last issue with Krypto the Superdog and everything that he was doing with the Phantom Zone. This one was okay, but didn't do a whole lot for me. We've got a story here about a legion of angel-like characters, or angel-like beings rather, kind of from the 5th dimension that are programmed to protect Mars. And of course, the Martians are no longer there, so they're basically programmed to fight for a race that's no longer around. And Superman's got to figure out how to fight these beings that don't really work within the same rules of physics as everything else does. And what I really do like about it is kind of Superman's eternal optimism, where he keeps telling the astronauts that are there, the Earth astronauts that are being attacked by these angels, not to lose hope, and that he does things like his father does things, and he keeps talking a lot about Jor-El and how Jor-El dealt with things like this on Krypton, and that whenever you're faced with the impossible, you must find a way to do the impossible. The problem with that idea, of course, is that it means that Superman ends up solving a big problem with Technobabble, and that's really what I didn't love about it. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed the backup feature more, which is odd, and wasn't actually written by Morrison. Who wrote this backup feature? Let me check real quick. The backup feature is written by Shelley Fish and drawn by Chris Sprouse, and I actually like this art quite a bit too. Basically, this backup feature is about it's just this little cute story about Superman trying to see a glimpse of the destroyed Krypton, and Krypton here was destroyed approximately 27 years prior to now, and so the light is still reaching us, and Superman, through a lot of powerful telescopes all being put together, gets to see what Krypton looked like as the light is still getting to us. I thought that was kind of a neat idea, and kind of a bit of a touching story, I thought. Rax Morales is a little bit off his game this issue, I thought. Superman, in a lot of panels, looks too much like a kid. I mean, I know he's a younger Superman, but there are a lot of panels where he looks like he's 12 or 13, and he has the face more of Billy Batson than he does of Superman or Clark Kent. So, anyway, a bit of a lackluster issue for me. Next up, what do we got here, Jason?
Hive.
Yeah, Star Trek Next Generation Hive. This is issue number 2. Once again, this is a miniseries being plotted by Brannon Braga and written by Travis Fickett and Terry Matalas, art by Joe Caroni. Loving the art in this book, and it's just a big, whopping, giant Borg action story, really. As I said last issue, the idea here is that Locutus, in the future, is trying to find a way to change things because the Borg have taken over everything, and they don't feel the sense of perfection they thought they would feel, and life is kind of boring now and purposeless, and Locutus is starting to revert back into Jean-Luc Picard, and that's several hundred years in the future. This does give us a good explanation as to why we saw a Borgified 7 of 9 last issue, so that's good. I was hoping that would happen here. And what is really weird, though, is that Hive is the right name for this book, because we've got a giant spiderified 7 of 9 in here, and a lot of just crazy, over-the-top things you would have never seen in a Star Trek movie or television show. It's very much Brannon Braga getting to do kind of a big, silly fanfic, and some of the human components that I was noticing last issue that was making this seem worthwhile are a little bit lost here. This seems to be much more plot-heavy and much more action-heavy and just big full-page spread heavy of just showing us, fun pictures. I haven't said that. There's a lot of fun pictures, and I really did enjoy this. There's also a return of this is so weird. A return of the Hazard team from Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, the first-person shooter that was based on Quake that was put out back in the late 90s. Yeah, that's got to be where that came from, because they call it a Hazard team, and they're wearing those same kind of uniforms, and they're led by Worf. Anyway, goofy, but kind of in a good way. Still enjoying this book. What do we got next, Jason?
Daredevil End of Days.
Yeah, Daredevil End of Days, number 2. This one is, of course, this is Bendis giving a kind of a tale of what happens after Daredevil dies. So this kind of, out of continuity thing that's supposed to be like the Marvel The End books. And we've got Ben Urich that we're still following, and basically this issue, he's just going around to various important people in Ben's life and trying to figure out what Malpone means. That was the thing that the thing that Matt said just before he died. He says one word. And it's Maypone, and so Ben's going around trying to figure out what it means. I really liked Ben trying to refuse to go to Matt's funeral. This whole thing is really breaking him up, and he's got this very difficult. He's in this very difficult place with Matt because they weren't really friends at the end, but he always still wanted them to be friends, and Matt had pushed him away, and so it's this very difficult, sticky situation for him, and he ends up being forced to go to the funeral because J. Jonah Jameson needs somebody there to report on it, and he ends up from there following someone who is a really important character in Matt's life that I won't reveal because that's kind of the end of this, but I'm really glad that character is figuring in, and it's going to be fun to see what happens there. We get Nick Fury in this, where Ben Urich goes to him and is trying to figure out what this word means. And so lots of really great detective work, and still really excellent writing from Bendis. I was blown away by the first issue, and I'm still very intrigued, though was not as impressed with this issue, just because it's getting some plot out of the way and getting Ben to just to a place where he's learning more. One thing I was missing was all of that really interesting stuff about writing that we got that first issue, where the first issue has a lot of narration boxes where Ben is kind of writing in an article as he goes, and then you get to see in his head as he kind of changes lines and things. All of that's missing here, and I was kind of hoping that sort of thing would go throughout this entire series. Having said that, still really good, so you definitely should be reading that if you like Daredevil. What do we got next, Jason?
Towing Paidu Maintenance Part 4.
Scarlet Spider, and it's Minimum Carnage Part 4. Thanks, Jason. You're doing all of my encyclopedic work for me. So we got some more Minimum Carnage here, and this one is written entirely by Yost. Bunn is nowhere to be seen on this one, and I don't know if Bunn's doing any of the Scarlet Spider bits. Maybe they're probably just tag teaming, where they probably plotted it together, but then Yost writes the Scarlet Spider parts, and of course Bunn writes the Venom parts. So we've got more over-the-top microverse stuff. And I really like the mythos being set up here. It's becoming more and more serious. I saw it as a little bit goofy before, and as it's going along, I'm starting to really get sucked into this microverse. You've got these two characters within there that are kind of vying for power. One is kind of seen as a god, and the other one wants to become a god, and he's trying to use Carnage to help him do that. I really like this idea that there's all this kind of religious stuff going on, and so it's against this character's religion to kill the leader that he's trying to replace, and so that's why he went for a serial killer, and that's why he went for a symbiote, because apparently symbiotes really fit into their culture and their mythos, and I think that's really interesting. We've got a really great cliffhanger at the end of this about what exactly they're doing with Venom and Carnage and the symbiotes, and it looks like we might even see a forced Venom Carnage team up. So once again, Venom Carnage, still lots and lots of fun, and I still really appreciate the fact that I can actually see what Carnage is doing in a book. Finally, it's time for the Jason pick. Jason, what did you pick this week?
Marvel Now, Iron Man.
Iron Man #1 from Marvel Now. I wanted to go ahead and pick up some first issues of Marvel Now books that I might not necessarily continue on, but just to tell people about them. And so I asked Jason to pick a Marvel Now book, and this is the one that he picked. So I really enjoyed this. I'm not sure how excited I can get about going back to Extremis. I know a little bit about Extremis. I didn't read Extremis, but I've read about it, and this kind of does a really good job of mixing, of doing a sequel to a story while making it to where you didn't necessarily have to have read that story. And I think this is one of the best Iron Man jumping on points in a really long time. What Gillen's doing here is he's trying to kind of parallel what happened to Tony Stark when he first got kidnapped and was in the cave and was forced to make technology for people, with the woman who made Extremis, who's now had to do the very same thing. And I think that's really, really great. What'd you say?
1.
Yeah, it's #1. So we've got it's doing a really good job of kind of going back to Iron Man's origin without doing it in too obvious and in your face of a sort of way. You can read this without having read anything, I think, and I definitely felt right at home because it was talking a lot about where Stark Resilient is right now and how successful the company has become, and Pepper Potts taking it over and all of that. I left the Iron Man book, not because it was bad, just because I was reading other things, around when Resilient was first starting to really start picking up, and I came back to this, and it's still resilient, and now it's just more resilient, in that it's a bigger company, and it's become really successful. So I felt pretty at home reading this book. I think Gillen has a pretty good voice for Tony Stark. It is very much movie Tony Stark, but so is Fractions, so that's okay. I don't know if I love the color palette for this new suit. I think it might grow on me if I continue to read this book. I have to say that I'm on the fence about whether or not I'm going to keep going with this, and that's a good thing, because I don't generally read Iron Man, and this book is making me kind of want to continue with it. So I don't know if the diehard Iron Man fans are going to really love it, but I thought it was a really great place to start. One thing I really like about this, too, is that at the beginning, it tells you exactly how many issues are going to be in the story arc, and I wish more things would do that. I know you get that every so often. You used to get it a lot more, and this says believe 1 of 5, so you know that there's going to be 5 issues in the story arc. I also really like the name of this arc, Believe, and how it deals with what does Tony Stark believe in, and he talks a lot about how he's not a religious person. He's always believed in himself above all else, and he talks about his what he feels is his optimism versus the world's pessimism and all of that. I think Gillen really gets into his head here. I was very impressed with this as a first issue. I think it was quite good. So I wholeheartedly recommend this one for Iron Man fans and non-Iron Man fans alike. I think this might be a really good Marvel Now title. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching the Comic Vault. Jason, thanks for being with me on the Vault. And thanks for picking Iron Man.
Yeah.
And if you'd ever like to send anything for me to review on the Vault, either a single issue or a trade, you can always send that to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Jason.
And we'll see you next time.